All right. Welcome to Take Human Action PA episode 60. We made it, another big landmark here. So I'm Calvin and I'm your host for tonight. We got a very special episode. Very good guest in the house. I've been meaning to have on for a while. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, follow our Facebook page, and you can watch us on Twitter as well. We also got the podcast feed, so all the details that you need on that are on the episode description here. So don't forget to follow us everywhere. So about our guest, I will pull up his bio real quick here. So we've got a member of the Libertarian Party of Delaware joining us. He is the former chair of the LP of Newcastle County, host of the Dave versus Goliath podcast, co-host of The System is Down, and as of recently, he's interviewed just about all the top contenders for the LP presidential nomination. Let's give it up for Dave Casey. How you doing, Dave?
What's good, Calvin? Good to be with you, man.
Yeah, good to be with you too. It's been a little while.
Yes, sir. Good time at the Rage Against the War Machine rally. Well done on that one. Good to see you in real life, and yeah, thanks for
that's where it's at, man. That's what you need to do. Just get out in the real world sometimes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and your video coverage of that was top notch. I just watched that interview so many times because just particularly the clip part of it, because it just made me crack up so hard.
Dude, I got to give it up to my boy Dan Smots for the clip stuff. I sent him like an hour or more of like raw footage, and he came back with this like 3-minute just hot reel, and that's my dude. He understands comedic timing like nobody else in the movement. So give it up to him for that. But yeah, that was a lot of fun, man. I think that was probably the most fun I've had, putting microphones in people's faces, and again in real life. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, definite shout out to Dan too. He does good work. I've seen a lot of his ads, and yeah, he really knows what he's doing. And I'm not sure how much I'm supposed to say, but everyone out there, just keep your eye out for Rage Against the War Machine coming back at some point in the near future.
Yeah, bring that back, man.
Yeah,
and call me when
we will. We will. Don't worry. It's something's in the works, but we won't go there right now. Let's go into the presidential race. So I think most of us know by now, we were hoping for a Dave Smith run, and that didn't quite pan out. So field seems to be open. There's a lot of people who have declared, but there's a couple, at least in terms of social media presence, how well known they are in the party, have definitely risen to the top. And you've interviewed a lot of them. So I'm just going to name some of them. Mike Termat, Joshua Smith, relatively recently announced. And then one of the most recent people to have announced is Michael Rechtenwald, well known from the Mises Institute. Anyone else you want to throw in there?
Well, Dan Smott's guy at the moment is Joe Exotic. He's still on the Democratic side. He's pushing for that guy. So we got to interview his campaign manager, and then we interviewed Franziak. That's the guy from Attila. We interviewed his campaign manager as well. So there's Ben Weir, who runs the emo caucus, and he's up there in New Hampshire. He's kicking ass too. So I think that's it.
Well, you interviewed Toad too, right?
Oh, excuse me. God, I'm such an asshole. And you know what? I told him, this is the honest to God truth. That might have been the most fun I've had on a podcast, like in total, because Clint showed up and the Tower Gang guys were in the chat, and I didn't feel any pressure at all. I just was like, this is just kind of like a shit show that I wanted to be involved with. So I just laughed my ass off on that one. So yeah, shout out to Ted. That was a lot of fun too. And he's got a good platform, dude. It's solid.
Yeah, that episode was hysterical. I was laughing and rolling around during that one too. It's just like, so many pithy.
We gotta have fun doing, bro. We have to have fun when we're doing this, or else nobody will last.
Yeah, right on. So we probably won't talk about them as much. So let's start with Joe Exotic, because I thought that he started out as a libertarian and now he's running as a Democrat. So what happened there?
Yeah, so I think he's one of those guys that probably looking for the ballot access, looking for any avenue really to get his message out. So like I wasn't very sympathetic to him as a candidate before I talked to the campaign manager, but he was a really cool guy. An animal lover like Joe Exotic. They've known each other. They're like friends. So he's trying to get his friend out of jail. So like I immediately was like, all right, man, well this makes sense. Me and my homies would try and do the same thing for Ross Ulbricht or whatever. Like this, your whole thing is about bringing attention to this injustice in your view. And so for that, yeah, I mean, he moved up in my book. I'm not going to, that's not my guy, but I understand why it is for Dan. Dan has a little bit of that kind of like, burn it down mentality. So he likes the shit show, the clown show. And that's all I kind of took away in the beginning was the character of Joe Exotic. But he spent like quite, I can't remember how long, but a while in like solitary confinement, not being treated well. So if I was his homie, I'd be doing the same thing. And it's cool. Probably better off in the Democratic Party, but his campaign manager was like a Trump guy. He's like, oh yeah, we have a lot in common. I was like, don't tell your Democratic voters that. Like, that's not going to work out for you. But they're just looking for something. You know what I mean? Trying to throw a bunch of fishing poles out and see what they catch. So best for them.
Yeah. Well, for the purposes of a campaign, that makes sense. That's like a good issue to run around. If there's criminal injustice and there's plenty of that going around right now, then why not take advantage of the opportunity?
Right. Yeah. And like I said, super nice guy, man. So I wish them luck.
Yeah, so we'll see how that shakes out. And then Franziak, I'm not exactly up on the popular culture, especially that type of music. Sorry, I know there's a lot of libertarians who are fans of that out there. So I'm not one to follow that stuff, but you tell me what's going on with Franziak and what'd you get from Ben Weir?
So that's another one where like the candidate is not my guy. More so with Franziak, definitely not my guy. Like that's not either of them. I don't want them representing me, but I'm actually kind of insulted that a guy like Franziak would be like, I'm the guy to lead you guys. Like, you're definitely not in my book. It's just my opinion. But Ben Weir is a great libertarian, taking all kinds of human action. So for that, I applaud him. And, I heard he's the one that he hit up Toad and said, yo, you should run. And he hit up Josh and said, yo, you should run. And hit up Franziak and said, yo, you should run. So this guy is giving Smots a run for his money as libertarian Illuminati by just, again, taking human action. Get on the horn. Like, tell people what you want. And you'd be surprised what happens when you take a little bit of that action. So for that, I applaud Ben. I want to see him do more man on the street stuff. He did some good stuff in New Hampshire. He formed a caucus, the emo caucus, which is less focused on, the party and the Robert's rules and all that shit, and just kind of like really gently brings people in from like, the rock and roll space, man. And you can just talk about music that they like, and maybe you can slip some liberty in there. But I think that's cool. So yeah, cheers to him. And I told him though, I mean, like, I will fight you at DC. That guy's not going to be the guy, but still, that's just my personal opinion. You know what I mean? So anybody who thinks that if that is your bag, I'm not going to go into like the details of that guy's life. I think you guys know he's like, he's a successful musician. He's got like 1 million followers like throughout all social media. So there's some like Vermin Supreme style danger there, where because your party is so small, like if you don't protect it and do a little gatekeeping from now and then, it could capsize with a bunch of people that have no fucking clue what the philosophy is about, but some giant asshole with a big megaphone brings them all in. You know what I mean? That's what you got to deal with when you have a small party. So I think that he thinks he can come in May and like do all this. It's like, you and I know, dude, if you want to take over a party or get you're gonna have to probably put in 2 or 3 cycles before you can like build up kind of momentum to do it. So I wouldn't worry about that. But hey, I'll say this: if we need bring in the metalheads. Mike Heiss is a metalhead. It's not like I'm not against metal or like being cool or whatever. It's just like, don't be a scumbag and know about the philosophy, and everything else is cream cheese.
Oh yeah, like that reminds me back in 2017 when we did me and Mike worked on the End the Fed rally in uh, in Philadelphia, and I don't remember if it was him or somebody else, but someone in our organizing team ended up getting in touch with Phil Labonte and got him to come down. So even at that
Mhm.
early point, we were trying to make inroads in the music community, and I didn't really appreciate it as much at that time, but looking back, it definitely makes a lot of sense. Like you got to tap into that culture, and I think he even knew it then if he wasn't saying it as much as he is now. Like he definitely had that sense.
Yeah. First of all, I didn't know that you were involved with that event, and that I was there. That was a great one.
Oh,
It's
really? Yeah.
yeah. Coax was there, the Corrected Axiom guys, and Kokesh was there. Larry Sharp, right? This
Hmm.
is the same one.
That was my
Um,
first time meeting Maj.
okay, awesome. Um, yeah, and I remember Mike being really excited about yeah, Phil from All That Remains was like, hey, he leans libertarian. Like again,
Hmm.
this is I tell Mike all the time. That's his strongest point is making connections. Like, dude, you
Hmm.
should be doing this. And look at Phil Labonte now. You know, he's
Hmm.
third chair or whatever on Tim Pool's show, and still
Oh
gets to
yeah.
make rock music, and like all by not being scared, being brave. Like, don't be one of those rock musicians. This is what Ben Weir is saying. Like, rock stars and like guys in bands are scared to have any other position than the acceptable one, which again is like the most unpunk rock thing you could possibly do. But they don't want to upset the status quo, especially if they have like shit to lose. So when guys like Phil Labonte, you know, come out, you got to like kind of like pat them on the back. Great job, man. Do the blah, blah, blah. Maybe I'll introduce you to this person. And yeah, look at it now, man. It's awesome. So uh,
Hmm.
yeah, real cool. He's not going to get my vote, Franziak, but bring in some metalheads.
Yeah. Phil Abate though is definitely doing it the way that artists should be doing it if they're going to speak out. Like doesn't even necessarily have to be libertarian. Just like if you feel passionate about something like that, then speak out about it.
Yeah. See,
Good things definitely came his way.
If Phil ran, I know he has no interest at all. But if he did, obviously, like he gets it. He knows the philosophy, and that would be a way easier sell.
Yeah, he might even get uh well, I don't know how much support he would get, but he would definitely get a lot if he decided to run.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah. So and then before we get into the other three that I mentioned earlier, Toad, he got the Clint Russell endorsement, which is pretty big because Clint Russell's a big name in the movement right now, and he came out and publicly endorsed him already. So yeah, he's got some big names backing him. But any thoughts?
So there may or may not be some professional wrestling just satire to that. If you go through the whole episode, um, they're homies, and I think he's got his back. And I think he's unofficially the campaign manager, but I wonder if as the season progresses, Clint might check his good name, and I bet you he might change his mind on that one. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely go back and watch the Toad episode that Dave did. But yeah, it was pretty clear that he was hyping him up, and I don't think that's going to end up being a final endorsement.
That's what homies are supposed to do, though. And Toad said he's going to Washington, so he'll be there and he'll make his pitch. Like he's not. He said he's not quitting. So I like that. I like that he'll be on stage again. Pull that Overton window.
Yeah, he's just got to get enough tokens because there's going to be a lot of competition.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because there might even be some people that haven't announced yet. You never know because like
Oh
some of
man, yeah.
the
Joe
some of the other
Jorgensen like
names.
hopped in there at the last second. Nobody knew who she
Mhm.
was like 6 months before, and was everybody's like number 4 choice, and came away with the gold. So yeah, something to look out for.
Yep, that's true. So we'll see what happens. And then let's go in the order that they announced in. So, and I imagine we're going to do some like comparing between the three of them towards the end, but we'll start with Mike Termat. So you did the grilling with him. I know that, but were there any other interviews that you had with him?
No, though he did
No.
come. He came to Delaware, and he came to my cafe. I made him and his wife breakfast, and that was before we did the interview. So he was a little bit
Yeah.
more cordial, but um, nice enough guy. That's what I'll say that first before I shit on Mike Termat. That he's a nice guy.
Yeah, I will give him props. He is doing candidate endorsements for some of our local candidates. He's doing those interviews. He came down to the PA convention in person, and I think he was the only person who was a presidential candidate who did that at that point. He also came down like a month or so ago for a fundraising event for one of our candidates and stayed for like um, 2 or 3 days total because he also went to the Liberty 101 event in person.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you heard about that,
I
but
did. Yep.
yeah. So he was one of the people who's there, and then what else? I think those are the big things as far as I know that he's done. But I know he's done other candidate endorsement videos, and he's been making a point of going to a lot of the conventions. I even went to the New Jersey convention. I saw him there too. So he's definitely been making the rounds.
Oh yeah.
So
For a while.
yeah, so I'll give him props for that. He's doing the groundwork. He's been helping out the local candidates, so I can always appreciate that. And I should throw in the disclaimer that you've been throwing in for for your candidate grillings. Actually, the point of this conversation is to have iron sharpening iron. So all these critiques are not as meant as personal attacks. They're just, my and what will be your takes on the candidates and like where we think they're good and where we think that there could be some improvement. I don't know if you want to add on to that.
No, that's exactly what it is, man. And I might be a little rough with some of these guys. I don't want it to be personal, but like at the end of the day, like I don't view this as a hobby. We spend too much time doing this. It's not a hobby. It's different, right? Like we took over a political party because we boldly declared what we wanted. You know what I mean? And I'm still on that path. So like it would have been sweet if it was Dave Smith. This would be easy because everybody would be happy. But it's not. So we're kind of like splintering off and people can find value in different candidates, all good. But at the end of the day, for me, like I will fight to get what I want. And everybody else should do the same thing because that's what politics is, right? Like, so for a guy like Tamat, like I will not tolerate that personally. Like I will not be led by a guy who just retired during COVID as a cop. And before that taught at, prestigious universities. And before that worked at the George H.W. Bush White House. Like one of the things that when it got a little heated on that show, I said to him, I was like, have you ever had a job in the private sector? Well, I started this thing and, like started a little business out of my living room. I was like, no. What have you produced? What have you worked? I want to know that. That's important to me. So I'm personally, again, only speaking for myself. I'm not repping the caucus. I rep Dave versus Goliath. I will not be led by a just retired cop who has no kind of went on no kind of apology tour, right? Like if you were like a soldier in the war and you got done and you were like, you went on a tour of like, yo, these wars of atrocity are awful. And I learned so much about myself and blah, blah, blah. Totally different. Like a repentant, reformed statist. Okay. But like this guy, Termont, like really is excited and proud of his public service. And I don't know how. I mean, I get why somebody, might be insulted by a guy like Franziak repping you. Maybe you don't like Josh Smith because whatever. I don't know. People are rubbed the wrong way by different things. But personally, I find Mike Termott's campaign to be the most egregious. And if the Mises Caucus or anybody Mises adjacent allows that to go down in 2024, this mission failed. We did not do it. You did not take over the party. You won an election cycle. You better control one presidential election while you got that hot seat. Because if you don't, we failed. So I like to speak as in clear terms as I possibly can. That to me, that cannot happen. And I got friends that work on his campaign, like his campaign. Again, it's not personal. It's not hate. It's how I feel. And I'm not, at least I'm in politics and I'm not like being shady about it. It's like I'm openly declaring this to you. Like I can't have this. you know? So no offense to Mike, no offense to the good people that are working on his campaign, but it's going to take more than a guy who can just I don't know, man. Let's be real, right? Like you got the gold New Deal is your thing. Like we don't need somebody who can just explain like a libertarian policy, like what that would be. Anybody could do that. And anybody could slap a nice, cool name on it. Get it? It's not Green New Deal. It's gold because you're the gold team. Get out of here. Get out of here. So I'll stop beating up him for a minute, but I feel pretty strongly about that. Like I saw Josh Smith coming out swinging on Rechtenwald. And I was like, bro, you got a cop in this race, right? Like a straight up cop who's just, he's probably going to Joe Jorgensen. He might be everybody's second or third choice. And he's just being quiet. He's laying in the cut, going to everybody's shit and helping out and fundraising. And, that's the guy you got to watch out for. So I don't know. That's where I'm at on him.
Yeah, we'll get to Josh because I have a couple things to say about that. But as far as Mike goes, yeah, one particularly, there are other things that I like about him too, but one particularly telling moment for me as far as what would make him different from, say, if a Josh Smith or a Michael Rechtenwald was the candidate, I think it was you asking about drug legalization, basically. So the question was like, would you end the war on drugs right now? And I think ultimately the answer was something to the effect of yes, he would end the war on drugs, but he would do it like incrementally to basically explain it to the American people or something like that, rather than actually, ending it all in one go like Joshua Rechtenwald would. So when it came down to it, in terms of like what they would actually be saying when they're on the campaign trail, he might say like, yes, the drug war is bad, but he might not say we're going to abolish all the drug war or all the drug laws now. I don't think he would say that necessarily. That's just how it came across from the question that you asked him. And I think ultimately that's going to determine what he talks about, what he, like when he's actually talking, when he has a short soundbite on a certain issue or something, that's what it's going to come down to. So I don't know if you noticed that.
No, definitely, man. He did the same thing on the war in Ukraine. I don't think it was on our show, but I heard him say, you'll have to go find this, but he goes, what would you do about the war in Ukraine? He's like, well, like more or less was like, would wind it down. You can't just pull him out. You can't just like stop it immediately. You can't stop all the funding like today. Like what kind of, I don't know, man. It depends what kind of world you're living in. Like, I think he's living in a world where it's possible that possible, though unlikely, he could end up in the White House. Right. And then you have to have these policies in place. It's like, I don't want to play in that LARP with you. I just can't, man. Cause I'm an adult and I've been around this shit. And I'm not like Davy Downer because I'm saying you won't win. You won't win. It will be a Republican or a Democrat, period. So if we can't accept that and like have a real conversation after that, then I don't know. We're starting like from very different points. But like how hard is it to just be Ron Paul and go, we marched in, we can march out. That's the right answer. You know what I mean? Very simple, very clear, and morally correct, morally right. So
yeah, because you may only have a short amount of time to give your answer. So you're not going to take 5 minutes to be like, first we do this, then we do that. You need to, even if you believe it should be done incrementally, you need to skip to the end point and say, we need to abolish the Fed. We need to abolish the drug wars. We need to stop aid to Ukraine, like all aid to Ukraine, something like that, just to quickly get the point across what the principle of it. Because like what you're actually going to do in government doesn't matter. Because like you said, we're not going to make it there. So just say what the principle is. Say what needs to be done on principle.
That's it, man. That's it. Because this is a messaging campaign. The Mises Caucus gets that this is a messaging campaign, and we need to move the Overton window. I mean, Lou Rockwell, I did that the regime libertarian video and stole Lou Rockwell's voice clip from that. And this is what the regime libertarian is. Like, they're willing to tinker with something, maybe tweak it. Oh, we'll look into that, or maybe like reduce this. But yeah, always fall short of abolition, man. And I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in moving the Overton window and, changing hearts and minds.
Right. So let me go back to the notes I made just to make sure I covered everything. So platform is, oh, hold on. I got to throw this comment up before I do. Dave Casey should run next. So there you go. What do you think of that? Dave Casey 2028.
Shannon Lee is one of the best cheerleaders out there. And no matter what, it's nice to be invited. So that's.
Well, there you go. He's considering it. So keep bugging him for the next 5 years, Shannon, and maybe he'll do it.
Yeah.
All right. So the platform is very well detailed and thought out. Yeah. Say what you will about the Gold New Deal, but I appreciate that there is a detailed platform out there. I haven't compared all of them so far, but I'm pretty sure his is the most detailed platform out there. So I'll give him some credit there in addition to the groundwork I already mentioned. And one other thing that I think is one other good thing that I think is undersold and maybe not even that widely known about within our circles is that he has been doing a lot of the coalition work. Like he went and spoke at the Humanity for Peace rally. He's been debating the communists, and granted, other candidates haven't been in the race long enough to do things like that. But that was something before this stuff even happened, that was something I was at least thinking to myself from the beginning. Like, you can't just try to win people over in the party. You have to also show us what you'll do during the campaign by reaching to people outside the party at the same time.
So I agree. And if I'm playing the game, right, if I'm running for president, if I'm Mike Tremont, I'm probably following his lead because nobody knows who he is. So that's why he had to start in 2021 or whatever, right. He's been in that. So yeah, I'm sure his platform better be good. He's been working on it for 2 years. So yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like we can do better than that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get into the drawbacks yet besides the one I said. So I'll just throw them in quickly. So actually, I put experienced in government as a strength and a weakness because I know that some people don't like it. I get it. I'm kind of nuanced on it personally. I can see how yes, it gives you credibility with those communities, and then you can there is some depending on which job it is exactly, there is some case to be made. Yeah, you could try to reform it from the inside, and it gives you the inside knowledge to make specific recommendations to those communities when you're talking to them. I get that. So that's why I'm putting it as a strength and a weakness.
This is what I want to say. I lost my train of thought there for a second, but the fact that Mike has been going around for a year or more is another fuck up on our behalf, or just maybe not a fuck up, but we didn't see this coming. And even if we thought Dave was a definite, candidate, the fact is Mike is out there to the layman, dude. They don't know about any of this shit. They have no idea about any of these other candidates. All they know is that, oh, hey, there's a libertarian party, which I've heard of that party. And here's a candidate. Oh, they have a candidate. So the way I see it is he's out there representing the party. So he was on Valsh's show 6 months ago or whatever. So that guy's a complete waste of space and an asshole. But he says he's a libertarian socialist, and he's got 500,000 followers on YouTube. So to all those people, here comes this guy who says he's representing the Libertarian Party. And here he comes, Gary Johnson up. So to me, the note that we should write down is, the next time this happens, I don't care who your candidate is. Hopefully we'll have the 2028 candidate locked in, fairly soon, right? But even if you got that guy, have other surrogates. Have people who since it's just a messaging campaign, have people run for president. And you'll get invited. This dude, talk about taking some good human action. Run for fucking run for anything, but like we should have some people who aren't embarrassing go out and run for president. Because yeah, you'll get invited. You'll go to the UN. You'll go to, you know, speak on podcasts and stuff, and you can give speeches. And hopefully it won't be like such a regime-y, you know, like that would be ideal. So if I hate that, you know, like the political cycle gets started so early. I don't like that we have to get people running 2 years before. But at the end of the day, what are we doing if we're not messaging? You know, like nothing. So I think that we probably have to take Mike Termott's lead, and we need to get started earlier the next time we do this and have a couple people who are just in it, who are on your team.
Yeah, you know how people say that, what was it? Vivek Ramaswamy is running the campaign that Ron DeSantis should have run.
Yeah.
Well, at least in that way, Mike Termott is running the campaign that Dave should have run.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be awesome if Dave was going around every weekend to every single affiliate and every event. That would have been an impossibility. But again, this is a symptom of like, so this is, I know we haven't talked about Rechtenwald yet, but to my knowledge, Rechtenwald was recruited. The other candidates, you know, pretty much decided, hey, or let's just go back to Termott. Termott has no following. Nobody knows who he is. He just gets out of his government job in wherever and goes, guys, I am your guy. I am the guy to lead this party, and let me show you why. And I'm going to spend all my own money to do it. And it's going to be great. It's like, I don't know if that's what we need.
That was actually on my list. No big platform prior to the race, which at this point is something we really want to look for. We want to look for someone who already has a big filing before they even file to run for president.
Dude, it's essential where we're at. So I understand, like, we need to make the party more appealing to bigger names. You know, like that's a fair criticism. But I think that we've already done, you know, a pretty good job at that, and we'll continue to do that. So like, you know, bigger and bigger names will, as we earn trust and faith, you know, maybe that will happen more and more. But for the time being, I think the sweet spot is to have somebody who is a true believer, who also has something going on in their own life that, like, it's not so much of an ask or so much of a favor, like Dave, who's got a great podcast. He's very successful, but running for president would also be a great way for you to promote everything that you do. Same for a guy like Maj Touré. You know, you have Black Guns Matter. You could run for president and maybe accept vice president. That's kind of like what I would like to see. But that will help the party grow, and that will help Black Guns Matter. So it's not so much of a favor, right? It's kind of a symbiotic, beautiful thing you can have going. Spike Cohen, you are the power, right? That would be another one. Like, dude, this would be good for your nonprofit, and the party loves you. So why not just do it? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my understanding on Spike is he's about the same as Clint in the sense that, you know, he could, but he doesn't want to unless he really has to.
It's a favor. For right now, it's kind of a favor. And yeah, if you have other shit going on, I totally get it.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, those are the things I had. And then the last one was, not a fiery speaker. So there's only a few people in our movement that really have that. I don't really think he's got that. He's, you know, we covered some of his other strengths earlier, but that's definitely not one of them.
Termott. So are we still talking about him? Yeah, dude.
Yeah, we're still talking about Termott.
Yeah, definitely not fiery. The video he put out singing the national anthem was probably the most cringe shit I've ever seen a libertarian do. I can't believe whoever's on his social media team, all of them should be fired, because they all went, yep, that's good. Upload that. It's incredible. But again, I wouldn't be so like coming at you, but you're trying to represent me. You cannot represent me with that. You have to put that away. Never do that again. This is free advice. Don't do that.
Yep. I can't argue with the fact that I think the post should not have gone out. I think at the time I was saying, you know, if there's like a campaign page versus a personal page, that kind of thing would be fine to put out on a personal page. Like, I might have done
It'd
that
be
too.
fine, but it would still be something to judge him on because he's trying to lead you. He's trying to tell you that I'm the guy. First of all, I've never stepped foot in this party before, but I'm the guy to lead you. And here's the proof. This me singing this video. It's like, no, man. Like we've come too far to allow that. Sorry.
No, that's fair. So let's move on to Josh Smith. So there's a lot to be said here. He has a long history in the party. I think. Well, if you've been around in the Mises Caucus since the very beginning, like I have, then we're probably among the very few people that can say we might have been in the caucus longer than Josh. So he's been in the caucus a very, very long time. No doubt about that. And I will thank. Well, I've thanked Josh from the year that he started his chair run, and I'll still thank him every day for the amount of work that he did at the beginning to, put himself out there, do the tours around the country, and carry the caucus and be our bannerman as running for chair for what was it, basically like 4 years, something like that.
Yeah.
I've lost track of time already, but that's where we're at. So now he's running for president now, and I think he announced slightly before Rechtenwald did. So we're going to look at his campaign and what he's done so far. So any thoughts going in?
On his campaign?
Yeah.
I think that he's doing he's a political animal. Like me. Like that's not an insult. Like I think he's cut out for politics. And I think that his ads are fantastic. Again, it's more props to Smots, but the ads that he put out, the two, are perfect. Like that's what I love to see. I don't know if I necessarily need it to come from my presidential candidate, but I need it. Like I need that shit right in my veins, and the public needs it because it will shock you out of your slumber.
Yeah, so I agree. Those are good ads.
Damn, dude. Yeah. And Josh is, at this point, very adept to the camera. Remember what Doc Brown said? Your president's got to, no wonder your president has to be an actor. He's got to look good on television. Like Josh knows how to stare into the thing and say something with passion. Like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. There's a performative aspect to it, and he's good at it. And so I think he's doing a good job with his campaign. He's a little bit more aggressive with, I would say, our own people than I would prefer. And sometimes the mob mentality, on Twitter at least, can be gross. And I don't personally care for that part. But if I was running for president, I probably would be that animal. Because that's what you do. You go in to win. You know what I mean? So I can't really fault him for that. It's just not the way I prefer it, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you. And that taps into a lot of the points that I was going to get into. So one other thing I should mention, because not everybody who's listening might be fully aware, he was elected as vice chair at the last national convention, May of 2022, and he resigned. I'm going to mess up the exact timeline, but maybe 5 or 6 months later. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he resigned about 5 or 6 months later. Actually, no, it was like in the lead up to Rage Against the War Machine, so it might have been slightly later than that. But yeah, I've listened to his recent interviews, like when you grilling him in particular is the latest one about why exactly that happened. And honestly, I'm still a little confused because it's a combination of things from what I could tell, but the coalition work at least had something to do with it. So, and he said he doesn't want to work with communists, which on one hand I understand, but on the other hand, they're not going to get any power to put people on a wall at any point, anytime soon. And if you do interact with them, then you're going to be able to change a lot of their minds to the point that even if they do stay socialist or communist or whatever, that they would be pacifist or close to it. Like at least it would get to the point that they're doing that. They might just form their own commune instead, like you never know unless you try.
Yeah, man. And honestly, out of that, I gave Josh since he resigned from that position, like he and I are friends, and we didn't really talk about that. Though that rubbed me the wrong way. I was disappointed that I went to bat for him for, the third race that he asked for support in and didn't complete it. So I got to voice my dissatisfaction to him on that podcast. So I'm not going to like keep harping on this stuff. But that was probably one of the things that like I would still tell him today. Like, I mean, that's a mistake. If you want to lead the party and you're still sticking to, I made the right decision by not participating in that, and I wouldn't do it. It's like, well, that's a real strike against you as a leader, because that was the best thing the Libertarian Party participated in since the takeover. The best thing. And it was only, from what I understand, the LP sponsored it, but that was really like a offshoot effort. But the fact is, if you want to be a leader in this movement, I mean, bro, think about what you're saying. If Josh were here, like, think about what you're saying. Like, Ron Paul is here. Ron Paul is here. Daniel McAdams is right up there, bro. Tulsi Gabbard's here. There's no Libertarian Party members like speaking at this event. It's all the most major anti-war voices in the world. And you're like, nah, there's commies there. Bro, I just can't. I don't understand, because you have to do outreach or you will fail. So you don't have to like them. I went and hung out with some commies, and we talked and we shot the shit and like condemned fascism together. Like it was easy and fun. And yeah, I would still say that I think Josh did a show with Scott Horton, and he might have come around on that show, and all good. People can learn lessons and whatevs, but I think that was that's one that we can just disagree on, but yeah, work with communists, work with whoever you have to do it.
Yeah, I will say this. I don't know how much of this is public knowledge, but I don't think it's anything I can't say. I was one of the organizers for Rage Against the War Machine, so I know how much work people, like even like Mises organizers and Mises Caucus members, put into it ahead of time. Like some people might have put in like at least 100, maybe hundreds of hours. Others spent like dozens of hours, including myself, in the lead up to the event. I even had a in-person meeting and several calls with drivers so we could get people over to the event in like the weeks leading up to it, just to get all our ducks in a row and make sure it was working fine. And I was in DC the whole weekend getting ready for it. Like I was there from Friday night up until the day it happened, just smoothing everything over. And I didn't even go to the White House because I was like helping them break down everything,
Right.
So I definitely put in a lot of work to that. And at the time that Josh, even if that wasn't fully the reason, if he did say that, oh, I don't like what's going on with Rage Against the War Machine, and at the time it seemed like that was the reason that he was leaving, that rubbed a lot of us the wrong way, including myself. It just didn't feel like the work we were doing to put all that together was really, I don't know, recognized, I guess you could say.
So I completely understand that, bro. And organizing work is a thankless job, also payless, usually. But so that sucks enough. Like when you're really not acknowledged by, like whatever your community or, like, yeah, I'm sure you didn't receive a lot of credit for that great event. Right. So that kind of sucks. But then to have your leader go, this event sucks. The thing that you're doing sucks, and I don't want to be a part. It's like, oh, fuck, that really hurts. You have to be really delicate, I think, with organizers, volunteer ones. You know what I mean? Or you're really good. You're going to lose people. So why do you think all your jobs give you fucking pizza parties instead of raises? So like all you got to do is just the slightest little thing. Nice job. Nice job.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll probably keep an organizer or two. You know what I mean? But if you shit on them, bro, or yeah, like, it's just bad. It's bad look.
Yeah, I'm not one to usually go out and try to seek credit for anything. I'm pretty sure that might even be the first time I mentioned that I was involved in the organizing. Well, I think I mentioned actually in the lead up to it because I was doing podcasts to help promote it. But other than that, I have never really talked about being an organizer for it. So that's just my thoughts going into the whole thing. And this doesn't just apply to Josh, it applies to everyone we're talking about here. If you guys want to either, do a podcast or, talk on the phone about any of this stuff, I'm happy to. So, none of this is to say that like, I think you guys are bad or like you're doing or whatever. Like, I'm happy to talk to anyone. None of this is intended to be personal. This is just my reaction to what happened at the time.
Yeah, and if anybody's listening to this and you you have organizers working with you, we're all in this community. If you see somebody who did a good job, like I'm telling you, man, people require such little encouragement. Just say that. Nice job on that. Hey, that's it. Could be in text, call up your buddy, but that might make somebody's day, man. I'm telling you, it doesn't take much. And you might, like, selfishly, if you want to keep your movement going, like, just give somebody a compliment. Hey, great job on that. Thank you. Thank you for that. So bro, thank you for that. I know you're not seeking attention for that. We're talking about months ago and you did all that work without any of it, but it is appreciated.
All right. Well, I thank you, Dave, and everyone out there who was working on that project as well. That was a really big, important project, and I was happy to be working with each and every one of you. Like, seriously, like the people who were organizing that event were a who's who of like who is active and who's a hard worker in our community. So,
real quick, Tim Miller, Irene Mavrikakis, Brian from Maryland. What's his last name? I'll
Konkowski.
Yes. Matt
Lawrence,
Amy Lepore.
Yeah. Sarah Eisenhower, Dylan Griffith. Luke even helped me out at the table for a while. Luke Enser.
He's a good one. That guy. Yeah. You guys all crushed it.
Yeah. Sorry if we're forgetting you, because I know there were so many other people that were helping, but to all of you, like, my thanks, and we both thank you, and I'm sure everybody who attended the event is very grateful for that. Now, going back to the issue at hand, so I'll go into his strengths. I didn't really touch on that as much at the beginning. For Josh, he is a fiery speaker, no doubt, and I agree with him when he says he appeals to the working class. I think he definitely would. There's not really much of a question about that. Radical platform, definitely. Simple talking points. He has his own podcast and large Twitter following going in, and he's been emphatic about his realistic goal of 5% votes. So I appreciate all that. Those are all really strong, I'll admit. So you want to comment on any of those?
I think the 5% thing was just probably one of the smartest things that he could have done right out of the gate. He's being honest, saying like, I think it was in his first ad, I'm not going to get in the White House. That might be historic. The first Libertarian Party presidential candidate that says, all right, up front, guys, we're not going to win this, but check this out. Right. So he's leveling with the American people, which will go a long way, I think. What else? Dude, the 5%. It's just like, speak in the most simple terms possible. Like, so if you're the public and you've maybe heard of the Libertarian Party, right? But it's like, I only hear about it every 4 years, or I don't even know what they stand for or whatever. It's just the third box on the voting sheet or whatever. You can say something as simple as, when we get 5%, we become a major party. Like, that's a victory. Oh, wait a sec. Oh, Gary Johnson got like 3.5 or 3.7. Like, we were that close. And I'm offering you something way better than that. So this is a very realistic goal. Like, I just think that will connect with a lot of lowercase L libertarians, maybe just some, like you said, working class people. It's simple. Hey, man, a victory is 5%. We'll change the game at 5%. So I think that was really smart. And yeah, dude, he would connect with the working man. He's got like 47 kids. He works hard, works every day. And he's got a great radio voice. I'm serious. Like, he knows what to do with the camera, and he's got a good voice. And public relations is everything. So he's got a lot to work with.
Yeah, I agree. Those are all good qualities. So I'll touch on some of the uh, weaknesses of this campaign so far that I've noticed. So something you mentioned during the grilling, which I think is an important point, that he dropped his previous commitment to the party, and whatever the reasons are, it's not quite black and white, so it's going to be hard to explain to the general public, let alone the, I don't know, the corporate media if he ever gets on there, you know. So that one's going to be a little tough to get past. People inside the party too. Not everybody exactly understands the whole thing.
I've been thinking about that, right? And what the function of a like it bothered me, it bothered you because we're in the inside baseball and we see how the sausage is made, right? But should I like once I've made that declaration, hey, I did not approve of this. Okay, now what? Like I'm still running for president. Will I get more votes than the other guy? Will I deliver the message better? Like, am I being selfish and looking, like myopically focused? If I'm going, well, he didn't honor his commitment to like you're right. You're going to have to pass the delegates and earn their trust. Like that's a big thing. But if he does that, I doubt that, first of all, I doubt that CNN will be calling. And if they do, I doubt they'll be going, well, is it true that when you ran for vice chair, that you only stayed for 6 months of your 2 year? Like, I doubt that will be, I doubt that I should even be concerned with that at that point, let alone will the corporate press be concerned with that. But at the end of the day, yeah, like, is that the most important thing? Like, I know, like, somebody was saying, yo, anybody who runs for president is an egomaniac. And Josh is an egomaniac. So let him go, let him tear loose. Like if he knows what to do and it will benefit you and him.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
There's an argument to be made that, hey, whatever, man.
Right. So the other aspect, kind of, or the other point, kind of plays into this previous one. Uh, Public disagreements with many people in party leadership, and it's unclear as to what. Like he went into it somewhat on the podcast, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions, so we don't really know why it's going on, or can it be amended. We just don't know any of that really, so I think that raises questions in some people's minds.
Well, yeah, a couple times he would make kind of like vague comments like that, and then I would, dude, name names. That's what I would do. Like if somebody did something wrong and you need to get it out, like you're on Dan Smotz's show, just do it right now. I swore to myself, bro, and this is why the whole Josh thing is the first like kind of test for me since like kind of being in this space, because I swore that when I got in it, I wouldn't do what the fucking previous regimes did, which just make a social club, protect your friends, vote for your friends, and then just keep that fucking thing going. No, we're going to do this right. You know what I mean? So like, I want to support my friend, no matter what. He's my friend. I'll support my friend. Go ahead. But like a presidential endorsement is way different. Like I take that seriously. So this has been kind of tough for me, honestly. Politics is weird though. It's like, I told him when he came on my show, like, I'm not going to endorse you today, but you're my friend. And I wish you luck. Like it's just kind of it's a weird thing.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt that when you make an endorsement, it'll be well thought out. I can tell.
Thanks.
So I mentioned something close to the ego thing, but that's basically what it is. The ego, that's definitely a problem. There is a point where you should, stick to what you want to do and maybe not take the advice of your advisors. But, if it comes down to like taking advice on a campaign, then, that might be harder if you have an ego to overcome. So I think that's an issue. We already talked about the issue coalition, so don't need to mention that again. This I'm not as sure on, but just in terms of from what I've observed, I'm not quite sure how far his appeal is outside of the people in the Libertarian Party or just in the social media space that we'll never see at a Libertarian Party event. So maybe you have a different perception on that, but that's how it seems right now.
No, I think that I'm with you on that. I think that the potential of Josh being, just like a working class dude is there, but and he's got way more Twitter followers than I do, like 25,000 or something like that. But in the grand scheme of things, no, I mean, it's not a terrible, amount of follows. So, I mean, yeah, he's got an uphill battle to get people's attention. Again, way more than Termont coming in the game. Oddly enough, dude, I think Lars Mapstead has the most Twitter followers, but from what I can tell, the least amount of support in the party. So like Twitter is, maybe not the best place to gauge that stuff. Again, you have to get through the delegates. So, and I'm not saying the delegates are perfect. We could fuck this up and, nominate somebody that sucks and they go, oh, look what they did. The Libertarian Party one more time, just put up this schmuck or whatever. That's absolutely within the realm of possibility. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. The one last thing I put for Josh is by his own admission, he's jaded. I hope that isn't going to impact him on the campaign or make him give up too early or not want to take advantage of certain opportunities as they present themselves. Like I hope that doesn't happen because I do want him to make inroads with the working class. I want him to bring more people in the Libertarian Party. I'm just concerned that if he already is jaded and, let's say I don't know if we continue to go in the direction with the LNC that he doesn't like, is he going to get to a point where he's too jaded and doesn't want to continue? I don't know.
So I think it's look, Spike Cohen is the first candidate ever to run the campaign and then stick around. The first one ever. It's unprecedented. So my hope is that, like anybody who runs for president, vice president, you get that. Use some of that capital that the party just built up for you, right? And stick around and use that energy. Look how it served Spike well. He's got like 150,000 follows on Twitter. When Kennedy was on Fox, he was getting invited on every week. A regular contributor. He's been on Patrick Bet David. That guy can drop that liberty shit, with the best of them. He's not perfect on all positions, but no, I don't know, man. I don't really know anybody other than Ron Paul who's like really good on everything, I guess. And I know some of the inside baseball, whatever, people that he surrounds himself with are less than savory, but Spike crushes it. So if Spike got in the game, man, I'll tell you what, there's still a whole lot of time. And I think that would throw everybody's game off. I think Josh would probably stop focusing on Rechtenwald so much and would probably go harder on Spike because Josh wants to win.
Yeah, it would be like if Justin Amash had actually fully thrown his hat in the ring last time, like the shakeup that almost happened from that. That would be like what would happen if Spike ran this time.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see, again, man, it's about sharpening the spear, right? So it's all good. Like if Spike is up there with Toad, who's up there with Josh, who's up there with Rechtenwald, I'm word. Just give me the ticket. I'm there. I want to see you guys, iron sharpens iron.
Right. 100%. So last but not least, the most recent addition to this list, Dr. Michael Rechtenwald. So I'm aware that there's some people that might not know him, but I think most people in Mises circles, like particularly Mises Institute, but also like Mises Caucus, know who he is. So one of the things I like about him is he does have a captivating origin story, and that's important as a candidate. Where he was basically a Marxist college professor at NYU, and he had some dissenting opinions, and they basically, completely outed him from his job over it. And he had a complete turn around to eventually being an anarcho-capitalist, like pretty quickly, because he was just exposed to the fire of the woke movement. And, he's definitely the person that fits the description of a fiery convert, because a lot of them are they're even more fervent about the ideas than the lifelong libertarians. So got to give him that. Former Marxist, so he can communicate with them. Well known and liked by hardcore libertarians outside the party, which, if he does it right, could form an important base of support for himself in terms of donations and volunteers and, campaign advisors, all that stuff. If he forms that kind of a base going in, then he could be ahead of everyone just right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
He got endorsed by Dave Smith, and I don't have the full list in front of me, but I know he got endorsed by Dave Smith and several other influential libertarians.
Walter Block, I believe, just came in with
Walter Block. Okay, that's awesome. So, as I understand it, he's coachable and willing to learn on areas that he's not strong in. So, like policy areas, just general campaign advice in terms of how he should do speeches or something like that. He's been pretty coachable on that. He has his own podcast, his own platform. Like, he's spoke all over the place, and he has a large amount of written works. He's done courses, like online courses too, not just for students. So I put fiery rhetoric, because his rhetoric is definitely fiery. There's no question about that. He also seems to share the realistic 5% goal, and he has plenty of time to run. Mike Termat seems to have plenty of time too. He didn't really get into that aspect. Josh Smith, so far he's had time. I hope that continues, because I know he has a super large family and another one on the way. But I know Michael Rechtenwald, excuse me, definitely has plenty of time. So before I get into the possible downsides there, any comments on that?
Yeah. You pretty much nailed it, man. I think that a Mises Institute guy is great coming in, especially if the Mises Caucus is going to put forward a guy, that's great. So like you alluded to, that might come with some endorsements, with some names. And dude, I'm telling you, we talked about this. He was on my show last night. Everything is public relations. It's the only thing that matters. You could live in a fascist dictatorship or a thriving republic, whatever. Public opinion is what are the people pissed, or are the people, happy? Are they quelled, or what? That's what matters. And I think he gets that. And more than that, I think that he is a guy who can speak to the issues of the day better than anybody else. Like, he might be more qualified to comment. I mean, this is what a lot of his last 3 books, I think, are about, like the woke mind virus and like the global technocratic corporatist takeover of things.
The Google Archipelago.
Dude, fantastic book, man. So I think this is what we kind of missed. We weren't in charge, but like Jo Jorgensen had the opportunity of the century, and she was the wrong candidate for the time. Like, had we had some COVID lockdown warrior like up there, I'm like, can you imagine? Not trying to live in the past, but this guy can speak to those things. Besides that, libertarians have a reputation of being corporate friendly. Koch brothers, all this stuff. When people think of libertarians that aren't us, that's what they think. Oh, they just want corporations to run everything. It's like, bro, listen to this guy. Like, you have no idea what the regime is, what the cathedral is. Let us explain.
Yeah,
so I think he's unique for that.
Clint even said he explains like ESG better than he does, and that's saying something.
Yeah. This is what people are talking about right now. This is like dinner table shit. So that's important.
Yeah, I agree, because if you needed a COVID warrior in 2020, then you need I don't want to say anti-corporate, because it's not quite that, but anti-globalist, anti-ESG, anti-woke person right now. That's definitely the moment we're in this year, and going into next year.
Wokeness, AI, corporatism, governmentalities, collusion between the corporate apparatus and the state. Like, that's what he's passionate about, and that's what's going on. So I mean, in that regard, yeah, he's stellar.
Right. So, so get it. I'll go into the drawbacks now. Although we have the fiery Reddick, he's not quite a fiery speaker just yet. So I'm hoping that'll change in time. I'm hoping to give him a little grace there because he literally just announced like a week or two ago. So he recently switched his voter registration, so he doesn't have a long history in the party. That might make the road to getting the nomination a little difficult. And he has no prior history in terms of LP activism or hitting the ground or helping candidates or anything like that either. So, and he still has to form a team around him. Hasn't been campaigning for that long. Doesn't have any ads or anything. So there's not too much else to say yet. I'm sure some more things will pan out on both sides as we go forward. But excuse me, that's what stands out to me right now. So anything on that?
I hear you on the like delivery, and this is all public relations shit, dude. This is all your president has to look good on TV. I was joking the other day that I can't run for president because I'm like barely 5'8", and you can't be not tall, and you have to be tall to be a president. That's dumb. That makes no sense, but that's something that people look for. You can't be an atheist and be president. Americans, that's like the least likely to get voted in into the Oval Office is a godless person. I'm sure there have been some people that have faked it, but you have to say it. That's why they all get up there and say, you know, they go through the spiel. Obama, right? Marriage is between a man and a woman. It's like, sir, you were sucking dick in a limo with Larry Elder in the 1990s. So don't tell me about your what would Jesus do philosophy. Say whatever it takes, baby. Sorry, is this not that kind of podcast? My bad, dude.
It's fine.
Okay.
I was just laughing.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. That he's got some chops to work on as far as like, you know, whatever. Like Josh, man, he can look into the camera and he says precisely what needs to get done and executes it because he's a tactician. So some of that wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll keep an eye out on these candidates as we go forward. And again, I'm happy to talk with any of them and just have a conversation about any of the things we just discussed. Iron sharpening iron. We want to see them, you know, in the lead up to the nomination. I want to see all of these candidates bring more people into the Libertarian Party and have them stick around. That would be awesome. Like that would be the ideal scenario. That's really what I think we all want here. So I'll just leave it at that. I think we've covered most of the points that I wanted to hit on. So any final thoughts, Dave?
Yeah, I would say look clearly. Don't vote for your friend. Don't support somebody for president that's your friend. Don't do a social club thing that the old regime-y weenies did, right? Don't create just like a permanent lazy thing where you just push your friends. Like that's just not good enough, man, because this isn't a silly hobby. Yeah, don't have any delusions of grandeur. We're not going to win the White House. Let's not LARP. Let's LARP less, right? And like think outside of the box. All those people that think this party is just for winning elections, these are some uncreative bastards. They're not thinking about what we could really do. The people in Colorado, those people they know how to use their tiny little bit of power to spook the establishment. And they're not scared to use it. You got to think outside of the box, man. If we're trying to win the presidency, you missed the mark just so far back there, you can't even see it. We got to move the Overton window. That's why a guy like Toad, I like that he's pulling it all the way over here. Like he almost makes, I joked with him. I'm like when Franz got in, I was like, oh, he makes Toad and Josh look like, you know, but that's cool because really. I mean, really, like, let's pull it as far as you can and we'll be okay. But we need to. I'm not saying it has to be the Mises Caucus PAX or whatever pick has to win. I'm saying like I'm hoping that the Mises Caucus at this point is less of a hive mind, right? That might be a sign that we've taken over. That like, okay, well, if it's not Dave where we were kind of united, it's like, hey man, I feel this way. I feel this way. Okay, awesome. We're still friends. We still win no matter which one of these guys wins. I'm going to go to bat for my guy. That's like, let's be good about it. Let's be sportsmen and not scumbags and have some fun.
Yeah, I agree. Like whatever happens as far as this presidential race goes, let's keep the mission of the caucus in mind. We are the decentralized revolution, and after all, so even though we've been spending the past hour 15 minutes talking of exactly, he's got his Revolution 2.0 shirt on. So even though we spent the past hour 15 minutes talking about the presidential race, ultimately this is about the decentralized revolution. So we're using our presidential candidate not just to get 5% and help us with ballot access, although that also does help the down ballot candidates with the ballot access as well, but it's also to get the message out there, to bring more people in the party, so we can have more people running for office, more people helping those candidates running for office, more people doing the issue coalitions and all the other good work that the caucus and the party are trying to do.
100%, man. I just got a time hop from 2020. I hosted Jo Jorgensen when she came to Delaware. And that's where we formed the Delaware Mises Caucus, which led to all the good things that we have now. Jo Jorgensen led to the formation of the Delaware Mises Caucus. So imagine if somebody like badass had come through. You know what I mean? We might have had way more people. Who knows? But like, yes, the presidential season is when normies get excited about politics. We happen to be political animals that do this all the time, but that's your chance to go, yo, we're doing something cool and we could use your help.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, definitely. And I got involved with the LP around the time that Gary Johnson came in. That's a whole nother story for another time, but similar idea. So thank you very much for joining me, Dave. I enjoy your content, and I really enjoyed hanging out with you tonight, and we'll have to talk again soon.
Me too. Thank you, Calvin. Appreciate your hard work, brother.
All right. Take care. All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in tonight. And we'll be back soon with another episode. It'll be released on YouTube when we get a chance and post that up. So it should be another week or two. Until then, don't forget to take human action. Bye.